Hi everybody, hope you're all doing well. Okay. All right. How we doing, people? Hope everyone's well. Yeah, so I'm feeling better now. Just a bit of this residue left from the cold that I've had. Yeah, it's been a bit, it's been worse than normal. I think just been really burning myself out with all the workouts and stuff. I can get quite sort of aggressive with it and just trying to. It's kind of like the hustle culture when people get too involved with that and they just stress themselves out. Same thing can happen with that. You just end up getting sick. You set yourself back. So it's best to just kind of find the right balance. Kind of find what the right balance is for you, like what you're able to recover from and feel kind of like you're functioning at your best. Because more isn't always better. Sometimes less is more. So we just have to kind of, try and find that line between kind of doing too little and too much, because that's where we're going to be at our best. So anyway, so the government, they keep bringing these laws in that are infringing on people's rights, people's freedoms, people's liberties, and and they just kind of keep on bringing new things in, and it's like it only feels like it's just going to keep getting worse. Now that they might be trying to spy on people's photos or some shit, which they'll just say, oh, it's to try and sort of find predators or something, which sounds good, but to then kind of infringe on people's privacy to try and do that. But some people will find workarounds like VPNs and stuff like that, I guess. Like, people shouldn't have to be doing things like VPNs and workarounds to try and get around stupid kind of like laws that are just really like not good for like people generally, like that are that they want to keep their privacy. Why should you have to use a VPN just to feel like you can be private online? Because it's like it's just crazy, isn't it? So how it's like your privacy isn't even a human right. It's all this like. So they're trying to bring in a digital ID or something. That's I think what they're trying to do. Hello, Shan. I hope you're well. Trying to bring in some digital ID to try and, just have more and more data from you. Just, yeah. It's all just spying and just, it's all about control. Thank you for the thumb up. And because like, if they can spy on you, then it's like they can arrest you just for like private messages, private memes that are shared that could be deemed as offensive. There should be some more comments soon, hopefully. Did have quite a few yesterday. Sorry. So, how are we doing, people? I hope you're all well anyway. A bit quiet. I thought there might be some more people coming in by now, but yeah, just if anyone else is here, welcome in. Hope you're having a good day today. Just thought I'd talk about, the freedoms that they're trying to take from you, but people need to come together. Whatever your like opinions are on left and right and whatever, I think we should all come together and realize that there's certain things that are just not right. I'm talking about like the whole kind of digital ID and all this kind of stuff. They're trying to, make people have to sign in with a, like an ID or whatever. I think that's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to go for is total kind of spying, and so they want a total like database of everybody. And yeah, it's just, I just don't see anything good coming from that. They try and make out like it's for your benefit or it's for the benefit of the children to keep them safe or whatever, but it's like, is it really? Because God knows what's happening to the data that's being sent. Like, where is it all going? Who's receiving the data, and what could they be doing with it? There's not necessarily going to be transparency with all that, and I just don't see anything good coming from that. Because whenever they bring in new laws that are infringing on your freedoms and rights, they just kind of, I don't see anything, good coming from it. It's always, it's like when they brought in the lockdowns and stuff, and it's like they said, oh, it's to stop the spread, but it's like, but they exaggerated the dangers of the virus to kind of make everyone scared so they wouldn't leave their homes. They destroyed a lot of small businesses doing all of that. Is that worth it? Is it worth destroying many small businesses and destroying the economy to save a few lives, potentially? It's all ifs and buts, really. I mean, some argue that more people actually died because of lockdown than actually got saved, because of all the things such as people missing out on appointments and things like that. Cancer screenings got oftentimes cancer screenings got delayed, which meant that they were more likely to pass away. So, it's like we can't forget all this stuff. What they did was horrible. There was that, for example, there was that time where restrictions were really bad at the beginning, and someone wanted to be able to go and see go to the funeral of their grandfather, but they wouldn't let them because they were having some restriction on who could turn up, and she ended up unaliving herself because of that. So it took to get to that fucking point for them to actually change the rules and be like, okay, maybe this is a bit too extreme because this isn't fair. But like, what the fuck? It's just crazy to me. It's just, I just think it's evil. Like, it was just such evil stuff that they were doing, and yeah. I mean, there's no evidence that it would have contributed to some spread or whatever. I mean, it's just all ifs and buts and what have you. Anyway, where is everybody? Thought it would be a bit busier, but anyway, hope everyone's having a good day. Share this out if you can. Yeah, I thought there'd be a few more people here by now or something. So I've been trying to kind of make it a bit more engaging with titles and things like that, topics. So I don't know what's going on today, but I'm trying, guys. I don't know. Like yesterday, it went pretty well. Had a decent number in chat and stuff, but yeah, don't know where they all are. There's only one person here right now. I guess I'll have to just give it a little while, see what happens, really. But are you back? Okay, welcome back. So, it's like that people will try and come up with excuses and be like, oh, well, we had to do those things. We had to, lock down all these people because, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, truly, we could have done something better. Like, I mean, come on. Yeah, it says there's 2 people. So how are we doing, people? I hope everyone's well. Yeah, share the live out if you can. That would be really appreciated. So it's just the government doesn't give a damn. It doesn't give a damn about protecting women as well. It's like, because if they did, then they wouldn't keep letting like unvetted immigration into the country. If you look at the statistics on crime, it's like it's got, there's this massive uptick in violent crimes and essays and stuff like that are affecting a lot of women in this country, and yet little to nothing is being done. In fact, I think this government's even encouraging these things by doing things like migrant hotels and shit like that. To basically, it's giving them a signal that, oh, well, if they come to this country, they're going to be treated well. It's just sick. You literally got people in this country who are struggling to even survive. They're working all the time and they're struggling to even get by. Yet you've got people who are, getting a free ride, illegally coming in here. And then sometimes they just go on and then, abuse people in this country, Hi, Marley Moo. Sorry, no, I'm not adding mods. So there's just no justice in this country where it's like people are getting, people are getting in trouble for doing relatively little, but yet violent criminals are getting fuck all. It's like, for example, there's that whole like Joey Barton thing, and whether you agree with what he said or whatever, but it's like, I don't think that what he said was really that bad. And he got a fucking suspended sentence over it or something. So, yeah, it's just like, what the point was is that, this whole diversity hiring thing where they would have to hire people regardless of, whatever the skills are. If it's from a certain race, they have to just do it. Because some say that's a problem where there's less of a focus on the actual skill of the worker and more on the race, just racially, ticking boxes. That's what he was saying. But obviously this black woman got triggered at that, because he was criticizing because she's not that good of a pundit or something, and she, because she was quite boring and whatever, and he was saying that she was. That's what he said, and I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that necessarily. If that's what he thought, that she would just like a diversity hire, that they just, they need to meet their quotas, welcome back. So that's what they're doing, is trying to diversity hire to meet certain quotas. They have to meet a certain threshold. regardless of like how good these people are to actually have as pundits or whatever, they might not necessarily be that good of a pundit, you know. But it's like, oh, but diversity, we have to meet the right, you know, quotas or something. I don't know what you guys thoughts are on that. We've got 3 people in here now. Who else have we got? Say hello if you're watching. I don't know. It's just crazy to me, all this stuff that's going on, and people are getting arrested over very little. People's freedoms and people's rights are being taken just like very quickly. And there was this thing about the Fabian Society and how that's ramped up its influence recently. They've been kind of like in the background, but they're kind of really ramping up that kind of Orwellian kind of sort of, yeah, like trying to kind of, you know, they're really striking now. They've basically waited for the moment now, because I was watching this video talking about all that, about the Fabian Society and how that's got this like big influence on politics. So yeah, so that's basically what's happened, is that they've completely like got control over the Labour, and then also like the Tories are probably somewhat controlled by that as well, because they're kind of like following in the footsteps of that. Okay, whatever, Zararkon. Anyway, I hope you're all having a good day. Thank you for the likes, everyone. But yeah, just, you know, people are getting, it's like, for example, that woman who got, you know, arrested for, you know, she was apparently potentially facing jail over saying the F word, with the 6-letter F word, in a private text that her so-called friend had dobbed her in because they'd fallen out or something, but this was over something that had happened, like where she got abused. She almost got unalived by this guy. She got her head caved in. She could have potentially had a, you know, fatal bleeding, or something could have happened where, you know, and she was rightfully very, very pissed off. And when people are like that, they're going to say some things that they probably won't, you know, they look back and think, why did I say that? I just hate Miami because of the people, like, they only care about height. I mean, I'm 6 feet and they're called short. Yeah, I've heard Miami's like the worst place in the world, like in terms of, hello, Manex, good to see you again. How you doing? Miami's just a fucking, just really degenerate and just like very superficial. Like everything's just, yeah, like I think that's where that, isn't that where that clavicular is from or something like that? This is the problem where if you listen to some of these, you know, red pill type of people, that you're gonna get a lot of skewed perspectives on things, where they'll be like, oh, you have to be a certain height, you have to be this and that. Well, that might be the case in Miami and places like that, LA, potentially. The bigger cities, I don't know in the UK whether there's anything like that. Maybe London, I don't know. But I don't think that, you know, when you walk around and if you just look around and, you know, like couples in real life, like, you know, that oftentimes not with guys that are crazy height. And sometimes the guys are quite short and they're still able to get somebody. So, but yeah, Miami's just really like superficial, and I don't know. I just think that you got shows like Fresh and Fit, and obviously I think they're in Miami, and I don't really agree with stuff like that because it's just giving a skewed perspective. It's just like an echo chamber for like a bunch of these, you know, like these kind of losers that are just watching it, who, you know, it's just to make them feel good because, oh, look at these sluts on there. But yeah, they're just picking off like the worst of the bunch and trying to kind of make out that women are like that in general, you know. But I think, like I said, I made a video about this a while ago. I think that most that go to nightclubs are probably not the best for like. I would say in general, nightclubs are not a good idea for meeting a woman or meeting a man for that matter, just because the environment is very. You're just going to get a bunch of promiscuity and just kind of that kind of degen kind of stuff. It's just full of alcohol and just nonsense. I mean, if you want to do that, okay, but personally, I wouldn't really be looking to these places to find the love of your life, you know. It's the last place you'd probably go to, really. But so I wasn't like, you know, generalizing women by saying that, like I said, I don't think that they're all sluts or anything like that. There's certain environments where, you know, those type of people hang out. Is what I'm saying. Promotes meth. Yeah, it's just crazy. Just like the whole thing with clavicular and people like that, bone smashing. You know, like who needs to do this shit to themselves? And it's not good for you either. It's like I don't even think it even works anyway. And even if it does, there's potentially risks of deformity and stuff. I mean, I've heard some really bad things can happen, like asymmetries and things like that. You've got to be careful with these things, you know. Yeah, limb lengthening is ridiculous. Like, who even would do that? I've seen videos of limb lengthening, and they'll like have these really long legs, but then a really short torso. It just looks stupid. Like, how is that making you look better? Because they're so obsessed with height that they'll do anything. That's how stupid it is. So you're willing to look like Daddy Longlegs in order to be 6 foot, or sometimes some of these guys, what's crazy is they're already 6 foot and they'll do that to become 6'6". Like, how stupid do you have to be? If you're 6 foot tall, you're already taller than most guys. Hello, Aaron Larson, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. What's funny? Like, if you're 6 foot tall, I think you're already taller than about 85% of guys. Something like that. I mean, the average guy is about 5'10", so you're already taller than most guys if you're 6 foot tall. This is why it's not realistic to have your standards at 6 foot guys, you know, especially if you're a really short woman. Hello, Holly Anderson. How you doing? I hope you're well. Like, if you're a woman that's like 5 foot tall, do you really expect you're going to get... I mean, sometimes they will get with someone that just happens to be tall, but you have to be realistic, you know? Like, it's just... like, there's not... Like, if every woman was going for tall guys, then a lot of women would end up with nobody. I mean, in places like Miami, 6 feet is considered short, not even being funny. They at least want someone like 6'3". Yeah, I mean, so if that's the thing with clavicular because he's 6'2" and he feels like he's still not tall enough, get the fuck out of Miami then. You know, if it's... I don't know. Maybe he's not really meant to be in Miami, because it's probably just heightening his insecurities and his, kind of like, I guess, like, the whole kind of, the inferiority complex and all that kind of crap. So so maybe he needs to move to a more rural community or something like that that's more wholesome and just kind of has more traditional values that isn't so materialistic. And because there's such materialistic to the nth degree in these places, but it's like, it'd be so boring to just be somewhere where looks are everything. Personality is nothing. Like, do these people even have a personality? I mean, I don't think clavicular has a personality really. And that might sound harsh, but I think that from what I've seen of him, he doesn't seem to really have any personality going for him. So I don't think it's his looks that really are the problem here. Height only matters in shallow relationships, yeah. But it's like he doesn't have a personality, does he? He's like a robot. I mean, this is like kind of like the final boss of just like I don't know, just like this kind of looks maxing kind of delusion. Is that something about the like clavicular or something? Like they literally say if you're not above 6 feet, you can't get a job. Is that in Miami? I remember there was this so-called like alpha male who said that if anyone was to work with him, they'd have to have a 6-pack or something, which is just kind of crazy, really. It's just like how many guys actually have a 6-pack, like visible, like, you know, 24/7, 365 days of the year? Not very many, actually. And this is the thing, right, with social media, that they put out kind of these, you know, standards and stuff. And yeah, you know, if you want to go for that and you want to get shredded, then cool. But it's just, you have to realize that it's not really that common of a thing. And a lot of guys would have to kind of be quite strict with their lifestyle to maintain that. And some might say, well, it shows strength of character and, you know, kind of like discipline and things like that. But there's many other ways that show discipline, like your work ethic and stuff like that. We can't judge someone's character solely off what they look like. Masculinity, you should have like big shoulders. That's enough. Like height isn't even like that. You're just tall. Yeah, if you're tall and just look lanky, that's not good, is it? I think it's better to be short and built rather than tall and lanky. I know some people say that, oh, well, being tall matters more, but I think it just looks worse to be tall and lanky, because you just kind of just look like this kind of drain pipe, you know? I remember when I was lanky, I just got called a drain pipe once, you know? Because for my height, I was very skinny at that point. So I started to like put on size because I was like sick of it. I was sick of feeling skinny and weak and whatever. So people go too crazy on looks. The ad industry has finally won over men and manipulate them just as effectively as they've been doing women. Yeah, that's it, you know. Like they're trying to like, yeah, just get all these men to kind of obsess over looks. But the thing is that men should be kind of rough around the edges, you know? Like, you can see, you know, I've got friggin' facial hair. It's not really kind of, you know, I mean, yeah, it's just, I've got things going on that are a bit kind of rough, I guess. But I embrace that, you know. I've kind of learned to just embrace kind of things and just sort of, you know, it's like being a man is about just kind of, just not being too kind of anal about kind of, oh, I've got to, you know, do all this stuff to my looks to try and, you know, look a certain way. Being rough around the edges as a man can actually make you more attractive. But in your imperfections actually make you better. But looking too kind of robotic and too, you know, just kind of like this sort of, you know, perfect skin and whatever and all that kind of stuff, you just become kind of like Patrick Bateman or something, which some guys are trying to emulate that, but it's like Patrick Bateman was this very like, you know, sort of like narcissistic, kind of egotistical, kind of very self-absorbed, superficial kind of, you know, person that's just builds his entire identity on how he looks. Yeah, exactly. It's Yeah, you just like shouldn't be too focused on looks as a guy. I don't think. 'Cause if anything, that makes you look worse because it's what it represents. You know, if they see that you're looking too kind of clean and whatever, then this is why you'll probably see if you see some guy who's a bit kind of rough, looks a bit rough, and you think, ugh, he looks a bit rough, that guy. But yet, some women actually really are into that, and I think that's why, because they just don't give a fuck. Like, I think that's why some of these women actually go for like these kind of smackers. I'm not saying that you should become like that. And it's not that they're into that specifically, but it's just this whole kind of, oftentimes they just have a kind of don't give a fuck kind of attitude on things. They just kind of do what they want. They're rebels. They just kind of, they're not trying to go along with a fucking crowd, I think there's something to the mewing thing. I think it's just more of just a general kind of like posture thing. But I think the benefits mainly come if you start it early in life, like before you get to about 25. There does seem to be some benefits. And same with like chewing and stuff like that. I actually looked at an old photo of myself, and I do find that my jawline had actually improved since then. So I think there are certain things. I'll have to find the image that I have somewhere. I do have an image somewhere that's not sure where it is, but it is around somewhere. There's mewing is when you put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and some say it helps with creating a more forward. Yeah, here we go. So this is the image of me back in 2016. Look at my jawline though. It looks quite weak looking. Look at it now. It's kind of, obviously I got some facial hair in both images. But you can see the jawline now. Some of that could be from chewing more. Maybe it's a combination of both. But something's worked there. So I do think there's so I was like nearly 21 on that one, but you look kind of chopped now. What do you mean? You're on about the jawline or something, like you can see the kind of, looks kind of gaunt and kind of weak looking on the old one. So I was just kind of eating slop mostly. I was just kind of, but that was before trying to do any kind of mewing stuff. I don't know if that really, I tried to kind of do the whole tongue posture thing and just kind of, I'm not doing all this kind of like hard mewing and stuff like that, and just kind of, I just kind of don't really put too much kind of like thought into that stuff. But I kind of, I think it's just youth. Also, front pictures with full flash don't give a very accurate picture of the whole thing. Well, it just looks quite. I mean, you look at the angles on the jawline. I mean, let's just get it back up again. Are you saying that the image is distorted or something? I mean, I don't know. It's just. Like, just look at the difference. Look at. I don't know. That's just. Hello, Greasy. How you doing? I hope you're well. You look better in the pic. Oh, fuck off. I thought you was all right, but you need to fucking say that, do you? Get the fuck out of here. Like I say, if you have nothing good to say, don't say anything. So if that's what you want to think, you can fucking think that, but why do you need to fucking say it? I'm just saying that it looks like my jawline has gotten sharper. I mean, or whatever, more defined, I guess. I mean, I've got more facial hair now, so I should probably trim it down a bit. You'll see the jawline kind of sharpen with that, but I don't really care too much to do that all the time. Because again, I'm not trying to hyper obsess over looks. But I mean, personally, I think that image just kind of doesn't look great. But, you know, people just kind of like, you know, I thought they were kind of being whatever, and they just kind of say shit like that. You don't fucking say, oh, you look better in the photo. It's like, fuck off then, you know? Trying to say I look worse now or some shit. Fuck off then, fucking prick. You know, just... So people just think they can just say anything there, you know? Anyway, that's a shame, you know? But I thought that we were having a good chat or something, and then they just kind of say shit like that, you know? Oh well. Anyway, so I was gonna, maybe I'll go back to the old, yeah. Anyway, it's just when people like, you know, kind of say shit like that, you know? Like, you know, saying that the other picture looks better. Well, thanks, you know? That makes me feel better, doesn't it, you know? It's like, you don't fucking need to say that fucking shit. How you doing anyway, Tiger? You know, I thought this person was alright, and then they just kind of say shit like that, you know? Yeah. Well, I mean, why say that though, you know? Why say that if you don't mean bad by it? Why say the other one looks better? Like, if you think that, you don't need to say it, do you? You just kind of keep that to yourself. Because everyone's got an opinion, right? Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. And sometimes, and you should keep yours to yourself, kind of thing. It's like, yeah. But I personally think I look better now with like the kind of just more mature kind of look, I guess. I just find that like so a lot of men, they go through like an awkward period when they're kind of like late teens, early 20s kind of time, where they're kind of like they haven't quite matured and they still look kind of a bit boyish. That's kind of when I'd say men probably peak like in their 30s actually, in terms of like how they look. Like men, I think, peak a bit later than women in terms of how they look. Women oftentimes peak younger, but that's the problem. A lot of women, they kind of like, they probably should have tried to secure a man when they were younger, and then they just kind of missed out on the opportunity, and then they're crying about it because they just went and slept with a bunch of guys, which also further decreases their value. Because why would any man want to take a woman who's been sleeping with 100 guys, or even 10 guys for that matter? You know, it's just, why would they want to do that? Like, I think there's some analogy of like say if you was to sell some clothes and it's been you know, you've worn it before, it's not going to be worth as much now. And then if those clothes are worn by more and more people, going to be worth less and less, you know? So it's like, you know, one woman that's been, you know, done by many guys, and she's just kind of, you know, that's why men don't take her seriously. They don't want to date her a lot of the time. They just see her as kind of damaged goods. Probably just kind of got some baggage, emotional issues, and yeah. The fact that they'll just like give themselves up so easily, it's like, that to me, that's, I guess, like you could say is it a sign of low self-esteem or something? But what about care about what and about the whole body count thing? To me, it's like, why would I trust, in somebody that has a high body count, and then, it's kind of, you really think they're gonna be faithful to you? Oh, they've slept around and now they want to settle down. They slept with 100 guys and now you're going to be their 101st guy, and somehow they're just going to stay loyal to you. When you think about it, it's just like oftentimes these things don't end up going well, and oftentimes they just end up using the guy because he's the guy who was a bit kind of the nice guy, I guess, who ended up kind of just getting, they'll just kind of simp over or whatever, and then I don't know. I think I've heard that she has. Doesn't she have a husband or something? That Bonnie Blue's just fucking. Like she was in Bali and she almost could have ended up in prison because she was actually breaking the law in that country. She should have gone to prison really, because like they should have made an example out of her really. It's not good publicity for Bali if they're just gonna deport her. And I don't know if she got fined or something, but it's like, even if she got fined that amount that she got fined, she's making millions, so it wouldn't really be that much of a dent to her. I mean, yeah, it must be a mega simp, I know. It's like for him to just let her just kind of do all this kind of shit. Yeah, it's like, what is it, Akash? Have you heard of Akash before? Who's like this total simp who's letting his wife just, kind of do all this shit. Well, she was basically wearing the aesthetic of being a virgin when she met him or something, and then she was putting out posts saying that she was getting her pussy popped or some shit by frat boys or something. I mean, it's like some humiliation ritual, but he's just going along with it and be like, oh yeah, that we're just kind of joking with each other, but I don't think so. Like, it's not like she came on and kind of said that this was like jokes or something. I don't know. It just like she just come online and just being kind of obnoxious and being like, "Oh, I'm a stay-at-home mum, but I don't cook and clean for him because I don't want to." It's like, it's just really like obnoxious stuff. I don't know if it's like rage bait or whatever. I don't know, but either way, that's sad. I don't know. But it's not really doing him any good, is it, if he's being made to look like a simp, Yeah, I don't know, like, why he's putting up with that if she's just kind of disrespecting him like that. Because, he's been kind of like questioned on it all and saying, "What? Why are you putting up with this?" You know? I don't know. It's just crazy, isn't it, that some people just can't see it or something, or maybe they're just too invested. That's the danger, isn't it? Sometimes where someone becomes so invested, and then somebody shows their true colors, and then yeah, I guess to each his own, or question mark. I mean, it comes down to like, if it's affecting you and whatever, and I think you could say, well, it's his choice, but then at the same time, when people are manipulating you, kind of like sometimes they will down psychologically, that is not okay. There's a line that gets crossed where it's like they're trying to break you down psychologically and emotionally and whatever, so that you just accept any BS and think that that's okay. I mean, I think it's not abuse in that sense, it's just humiliation. You could say that that is a form of psychological abuse, because abuse isn't always physical abuse. But I guess it depends on unless this is all some kind of staged thing. But is that really a good thing to stage? She's obviously trying to build her own platform up by kind of throwing her husband under the bus, which I don't think is good, really, is it? Like, how could you do something like that? I haven't heard of it myself, so I don't know. Right. You'll have to look into it. Someone called Akash. He's a comedian. I think he's from like Asia or something, but his wife is just like been kind of like bragging about, how he buys her all these things, and yet she probably just brings almost nothing to it. She probably brings almost nothing to the table, but he's putting up with it. This is the thing, is that what people warn you about is that if you do this, it was on about Akash. I mean, I haven't looked too much into that stuff. I've seen videos about it and whatever, but is that if you be like simping for a woman and then they're just gonna disrespect you in the long run. At first they might be like, oh, it's nice that he's doing this, but then over time, and they see it, they become kind of like, they just, they'll just be like, oh yeah, I can just walk all over this guy. They won't love you, they won't respect you, because you don't even respect yourself. He's in that podcast with the tall guy with a mustache. Can't stand any of those people. Or what's the one you're talking about? No, he needs to put his foot down, move on to the next girl. Well, anyone with like self-esteem and confidence and whatever would do that. They would say, if you're being disrespected, humiliated like that, you're not going to put up with it. But he's trying to justify it and be like, oh, we'll just tell jokes about each other. But is he really actually thinking that? Is that what he really thinks? Anyway, so I was talking about the government and all that, and I've kind of like branched off into different topics and stuff, as I do. But I guess the whole thing with like dating's kind of like not that easy these days. But someone like Akash though would be he should be able to find someone if he's got that status, because there's that thing where status is like the great kind of like equalizer, you could say, where even if you don't look good, you don't kind of, you're not tall or whatever, if you have the status, you can pretty much get anybody you want, because you have that power, you have the money, you have the power, and it gives you a lot of leverage. That's why a lot of guys want to get the status. They want the fame, they want the prestige or whatever, because that's going to give them that leverage to then just be attractive to like almost anyone. Because it's not that they're attracted to you as a person, unfortunately, it's that they are, either they see it as something that they can leverage themselves or whatever, because sometimes they're trying to use it for their own fame and whatever. So you're just going to attract a bunch of superficial kind of people, really. So this is what he's got to deal with, is he'd have to like make sure to like kind of vet people, are they actually just with him because of because of his fame and whatever fortune. So he can't just be simping for them. He can't just be. So you could say it was part of his fault, but then obviously I think he had some issues with mental health or something that he's been going to therapy for, if I remember. Most religions would reject that way of life straight out. What do you mean? He seems super confident. He just confused about social norms and what you should accept and reject. I don't know. I just heard somewhere that he's been going to therapy or something. So, I mean, let's see, Akash. I'm sure I've heard that he's been going to therapy for a long time to deal with attachment issues and stuff like that, because I've heard that he has some really bad attachment issues. So that's the Akash Singh. It's like I said. Yeah. Hang on. So I don't know if there's any updates on this thing then. I haven't kept up to date with it. It says here, Akash is in therapy since 2016 to 2025, still going. So, yeah, his therapist either wants to milk him for dollars or genuinely doesn't realize why it's been 10 years and they haven't improved this, guys. Yeah, so I can't understand how someone can stay in therapy for years and years on end. Either they're not doing a good job or something's seriously wrong. Like, because the idea of going to therapy is you go for a few weeks, a few months, maybe something like that. Not for fucking years. Like, how is it? I just feel like they're either just really incompetent or most likely they're crooks and they're trying to just milk them and just kind of keep them, it's like they're actually kind of gatekeeping actual, real therapy. They're just kind of using all the bullshit that will just keep on getting them to rely on them. I mean, I just think he needs to kind of do some inner work or something. I mean, what is this therapist even like doing? Like, if it's been 9 years, then what the hell? So yeah, but it's just kind of sick when someone will prey on someone like that, that's actually going through problems. His wife will just prey on that kind of. This is what some people will do. They'll see someone who's vulnerable and they'll prey on them. There's just some really sick and twisted people out there that'll see someone's going through some issues and they will exploit that for their own gain. Like, we're just in a post-morality kind of society now where, and this doesn't just happen with like celebrities and things like that, this is happening all the time, where people will, see somebody as vulnerable and they'll use them. I don't mean to be rude, but I don't understand why people get so invested in someone else's private life. It's not hurting anyone other than them, right? I think it's more just in terms of like trying to understand somebody else's situation to then kind of get more of an understanding of psychology and trying to understand the motives, and it gives you more of an insight, I guess. Because that's something that we can kind of learn to apply, and so that we can then give advice to others as well. So I think there's value to that. I don't know. It's not about, investing in their life because I'm actually care about that person in particular, but it's more about the context of it and something that we can maybe learn from. I don't know. But yeah. Yeah. You're right. We need to take lesson from this. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah. But it's just hard to know sometimes whether it's all real. That's the only problem. But there are real, like cases of this type of stuff happening in real life but it's just like more of a cautionary tale, I would say, really, to kind of warn people about, like I said, if someone's in therapy for 9 years, then something ain't right there. Like, yeah, I'm up to about 4. I did 4 the other day. Yeah, I could do 4 pull-ups on a max on a good day, but yeah. Anyway, but I'm a tall guy, so it is significantly harder. Yeah. If I was short, I probably could do about 15 to 20 reps. Yeah, 50. Yeah, it's just like, if you go into like absolute failure, you just kind of, yeah. Yes, I've seen like some skinny, short guys who can crank out loads and loads of pull-ups. I tried doing weighted dips the other day at the gym. I showed that on the short that I did. But yeah, so I'm just going to talk about the, yeah, like I said, the government's trying to do all this shit to try and infringe on people's rights and what have you. 6'1" with 6 reps. Yeah. Yeah, reps are going up, yeah. Yeah. I might try some of that stuff later. I should be going to the gym later. See what my max is or something. I don't know. 225 for 3. Been stuck at it's annoying. Flat bench. Yeah. Yeah, that's, I don't know, like, is it something to do with your technique? Something? Anyway, how you doing anyway? Hope you're doing well today. Make sure you subscribe if you're new here. Yeah, flat bench. I don't know if like changing it up and doing different variations are better. I don't know, but do you do like touch and go, or do you have like a pulse at the bottom? Because some say you should have a pulse at the bottom to take out the stretch reflex, which is otherwise momentum will actually help you to kind of push the rep up. I don't know. Do you do like yeah, so you do pulse it. Did 200 for reps pulsed. All right. That's good then. I guess, yeah, like how many reps you normally do. Do you normally do like kind of muscle building sets and stuff like that to try and, because obviously your strength will get stronger. So if you do kind of say like, kind of sets of kind of say, I don't know, like whatever reps that you're into, but if you're going to failure on each set, let's say, or whatever, and you're wanting to maximize muscle growth. I don't know. Oh yeah, Tabata is like a kind of style of training. I remember we did a bit of it once at like a fitness session thing. Pretty intense stuff, isn't it? And probably do more. All right. Well, I thought you said you were like stuck at 225 for 3 or something. That's still very, very high, in terms of strength and stuff. So maybe it's just one of those things where you're getting the diminishing returns start to hit, and then it's just going to take longer to see results or something. But yeah, short and intense. Yeah. Yeah, it's like circuit training sort of stuff, isn't it? It's a lot of like cardio kind of mixed with like strength, I think, if I remember. Anyway, they're just doing things like mountain climbers and different exercises. Basketball, no, not really. I remember doing the basketball at the arcade, you know, the one where you just throw it into the hoop as many times as you can. You get like, I think it's a minute or whatever it is to get as many points as you can. Yeah, kettlebell stuff, I've done bits of that. Yeah. Yeah. So you're doing like kettlebell swings and what have you. Yeah, that one's a good one for like general conditioning. But yeah, just anyway. But yeah, just talking about the whole sort of sympdemic, some call it like. Well, a lot of these are just broken men, and I don't know why they're all like. I think some of it could be. In some cases, it could be daddy issues, mommy issues, whatever it is. There's some kind of issues going on there. Like sometimes they were raised by single mothers, and then there was that kind of lack of a proper father figure, and they just had that kind of maybe they had that abandonment issues and stuff, and they just kind of lacked that kind of security or something. I don't know. Yeah. I think it can be good to do that. Depends on your goals. Yeah. I just don't like to kind of get too much into sports because I could get quite kind of, I don't know. I prefer to do my own thing. I don't like to be I don't usually like to be competing against other people because I find that can stress me out a bit. I don't know. I can get quite kind of aggressive and kind of like, I don't know, frustrated. I don't mind doing it once in a while, but yeah, I couldn't be doing that shit every day and trying to, I don't know. I've heard of Muay Thai or something. It's all a lot of kicking, isn't it, and stuff, isn't it? Someone would tell me about it. It's about having something about your shins or something that have to be quite strong or something. Yeah. It needs to be strong for that. Oh, oh shit. Yeah, keeps falling down. Oh, God. Right. Anyway, hope you're all doing well today. Strength training doing Muay Thai. Oh, yeah. I might restart the live, guys. Doesn't seem like there's much more people coming in here, so yeah, I might have to start a new one. I don't know. It's just, yeah. Never liked the gym before that, right? Yeah, I was doing a bit of like kind of like boxing in there one time. I was just kind of, it's a good way to kind of release some aggression, isn't it? But I gotta be careful because I got myself ill. I don't know if you know, like I just recovered. I think I've been going too hard, and it's been depressing my immune system. And yeah, just got to be really careful to not go too hard with these things, because you can get carried away. You need to make sure you're recovering properly. You need to make sure that you are not just kind of burning yourself out. That can just lead to immune burnout, and you're just going to lead to a lot of inflammation. I was just feeling like so much inflammation, and the last few days I've just been, I was just feeling tired, feeling groggy, feeling inflamed and just kind of, it's not good. So there's a fine line between, yeah, like doing a good amount and then doing too much. Yeah, so let's just start again, guys.